Welcome to Simple Software Tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a template that you see online and recreate it yourself using InDesign to make it your own. So one that caught my eye for a portfolio is this one here available from Adobe. It's got a pretty modern, clean, nice, yet minimalistic style, and I just thought it was a cool layout. So what I'm going to do is show you how to kind of recreate this in InDesign and just tweak it a bit so it's your own look. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to paste a little screenshot here. This is just for some inspiration, just to kind of see, okay, what did they do? What did I like about it? So what I like about it is that it's a nice, it's got some nice graphics on it. This would be for a photography portfolio, and it's just pretty clean. So what I want to start first with is making putting in placekeepers for these images here. So we're just going to go ahead and replicate this 3-image layout here. So first thing I want to do is I want to clip on this rectangle frame tool. So what I have here is a document. It's I set it up for print, and it's 8.5 by 11. These margins are 1/2 inch on each side. So what I have here is a 7.5 by 10 inch rectangle. So what I want to do first, I'm just going to put this this placekeeper here. So that is 10 inches there, but if we want 3, let's see how big they should be. So if it's 10, we want to divide it by 3. That's 3 1/3. So what we can do with this is make it 3 1/4. So what I'm going to do is I've selected this rectangle here, and I want to just type in 3.25, enter. So that's adjusted it, so I can now put 3 of these and they'll all be nicely sized. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hold down Alt. You can see my cursor change to that two arrows there. So I'm going to just drag. So that's the duplicate. I've got this one in the center, so I'm going to let go. And then I'm going to do one more. So again, I'm going to hold down Alt, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag this down to the bottom. So you can see I've got these 3 rectangles spaced out nicely. So then what I want to do is I want to create this box that goes over it. So I want to select the rectangle tool here, which is different than the one we just used. So we're not putting in a frame, we're actually putting in a shape here. So it looks like it goes from about the middle of this top photo to about the middle of this bottom photo, give or take. So what I can do is just kind of start here. I'm going to get that aligned here in the center as best as I can. I'm going to click and hold and drag. So I want it to go all the way to the side, but then I also want it to go all the way down here. And see that faint green line that pops up? That lets me know that it's right in the middle. So I've got this circle, or this rectangle here. Now I want to fill it with a color. So right now we're on the stroke color. I want to get the body color, the fill color, or I can hit X. I'm going to go over the swatches. I'm just going to make this white. I'm going to just use this paper, and there we go. I'm probably going to get rid of that stroke later, but you could have fun, you know, if you want to make this stroke like really thick. That might be a really cool look for your portfolio. You know, just use this for inspiration. Use things that you like for inspiration, but tweak them, make them your own. So now what I want to do is I want to put the wording in here. So I'm going to take my text, my type tool here, and see how it's in that circle there? That means it's going to fit the text into the shape that I'm hovering over. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to take it over here and just kind of get it right about the right size. So I don't want to fill up that whole spot, just most of it. And then I'm going to type in caps. I'm just going to type portfolio. And then I'm going to drag it over here. So this is where we can get it a little better aligned. So I wasn't too far off width-wise. And then what I want to do, I'm just going to go ahead and space this out into three words. So if you have a 10 key and you hit enter on it, sometimes this is what happens for me at least. It makes it go away. It makes my text go away. I don't know where it went, so I'm just going to Control Z, undo that. So I'm using the enter key on my main keyboard, not my 10 key one. So just wanted to give a heads up about that. Okay, so I've spaced it out. Now I want to change the font because I want a sans serif font like what they use here, and that's just typically what I go for. So I'm going to go over here to character. If you don't have these here, you can change your layout up here. I'm just using a really basic one. I haven't spent a lot of time tweaking it as of yet, but if there's something that you're looking for that's not over here, you can just click on Window, and like the text tools, the type and tables, you can select that right here and just add those over here to your toolbar. So I want to change the font. So I've been liking this one, this Seago one. It's a nice, just open font. I want to make it big, so I'm just going to make it 100 point for right now just to see what that looks like. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I also want it to be bold, so I'm going to change the weight here. So I want it to a nice bold look. You can go, you can make it, use the black if you want, a nice thick font weight there, but I think bold is good for this, or there's also semi-bold or all these other options, but I think this is a good one. Before I tweak it too much more, I want to mess with the paragraph here. So I'm going to click on paragraph. So I want it to stretch out and I want it to fill it just like this does, because I think that's a nice look. So you can use this center justified, but see, the letters are still kind of crammed together. So even if I make the font bigger, just because the eye is so skinny, it's not going to look very uniform. So I want to use this justify. I want to justify all lines so that way they spread across. Okay, so looking better. Let's go back up to character and let's just keep clicking. Let's make it a bit bigger. Okay, so I think about 120 is a pretty good weight. Now it's spreading out. It's kind of taking up a little more in my box than I'd like it to. So I'm going to drop this the spacing right here. My leading, I believe, is what it's called. Not leading. I think it's leading actually. So I'm going to drop this down just to tighten that up a bit. That's looking better. Okay, so I like that. So what we can do now is if you're happy with how this is spaced out, what we can do is tighten this up a little bit and then get it centered again in this box. So I'm going to just drag it until I get that. There we go. So you can see the green line and the pink line. And actually a simpler way, so I'm going to click on my text here. I already have that selected. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to click on my rectangle here. So if you really want to get things aligned up perfectly without a ton of effort, just make sure your text box is here. I'm going to redo this. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit more. Okay, so my text box is selected, shift and click my rectangle here. Now what I can do is I can use these alignment tools. So I can align it in the center, which it already is, but then also the vertical center. So that way it gets it right in the middle of there. So looking pretty good so far. Okay, so now what I want to start doing is I want to start adding some images into this. If this is going to be a photography or design portfolio, I need to have some images on here. Plus, it'll be a little more interesting for y'all to look at. So I want to start with this top rectangle right here. So I'm going to click on it. Now you can either drag and drop, or you can click on File and then Place and select a photo. I've got some from this InDesign extension here, this free stock search design. So taking a look at this, it looks awful, okay? And that's fine, because what it's done is it's just kind of fit it into this box. So what we need to do is resize this. So I'm going to click on the content grabber, this little donut looking thing here, and it's hard to see, but there's this weird brown line here now. So this is the full size of the image, but it's only showing in this rectangle where I've dropped it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to just grab this over here, and I'm going to bring it in and resize it. So we're getting close. So I'm going to hold down spacebar, and you can see I've got this little hand now. So I'm going to grab the page and bring it over. So same thing, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to slide this on over. There we go. So that fits a lot better on there. I can use the arrows up or down to kind of shift it around. Since this is a sailboat, hopefully I have the whole thing in there. Well, look at this. The sailboat is behind portfolio here. And also this looks very similar to this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. So I'm going to click on this rectangle here, my white rectangle, and my text, holding Shift, so I select both of them, and I'm just going to keep Shift down because that makes things move faster, and I'm just going to use the arrows to just slide it over to this other side. There we go. So now you can see the sailboat on there. Let's slide it down a little. Oops, not that way. So as you can see, I didn't click on the content grabber. There weren't the brown lines, so the whole box went down. We don't want that. So I'm going to click on the content grabber. There's my brown lines. And let's bring this down a little bit more to frame that in a little bit better. All right, so now let's add a couple more images. So now this one, what I'm going to do, I'll show you in a second. I did this before, so I'm just recreating it for you. So same thing, I dropped it into my frame here. I'm going to click on the donut grabber. Again, I've got this massive image, so I'm going to hold Shift, I'm going to hover over this, I'm going to slide this over, fit it in, drag this over, hold Shift, slide this back over here. There we go. And again, if I want to move this, especially because part of it's hidden, I can slide it over more if I want to. There we go. And then last image. Let's see, let's get this underwater one. There we go. So again, it looks bad. Look for this donut content grabber. Then look for, this one is pretty big, I think. All right, so again, this is a really big image, so I'm going to grab this from out here, holding Shift. Holding Shift keeps the aspect ratio the same, and what that aspect ratio is the height and width of it. So if you don't hold down Shift, it's just gonna crunch it. So see, if I just drag this in without holding Shift, it's all screwed up. So what I can do with this, since the line is too big, I can just move the image and then now bring this over and just kind of adjust it here. So just make sure you've got these brown lines within view whenever you're adjusting an image. That way you know you're not gonna screw things up. You're not gonna screw up the shape of your design there. So we can kind of move this around however it makes sense. Whatever we want to focus on, we can do that. That's some pretty coral down there. So there we go. So that's looking a little bit better. So now let's see here. So now we want to add some information here. I think this box is a little too big, so I can bring it down a little bit like that. And then again, I want to click on the box, click on my text, holding Shift. So I select both of them, and I want to get that aligned nicely. So now what I can do is I want to add photography, and then I want to add a name down at the bottom. So let's get my type tool. And see again, if you can see my cursor, it's got that text box there, but it's in that round circle. That means it's going to fit it. It's going to use this this rectangle here as a like a placekeeper. So again, I just want this square box around my text. I don't want it trying to cram it in somewhere that I don't want it. So just going to do that. You can also just click and type. I just like having the control of the text box so I can easily resize it. If you just type, it's not always as simple. So I just want to type in photography, or I could even type in photographer, whatever. If you want, you know, like your profession in there, you can do that. So I'm going to resize these. I'm not holding shift because I don't need to maintain any aspect ratio here. And okay, so again, it looks terrible because I just laid it down. So let's go back to character. Let's change the font. Let's change it to that Seago. And we want to make it big, but I also want it justified. So I'm going to click on paragraph, and I'm going to click this justify all line so that way it spreads it out. So I can shrink that down, I can move it down a little bit. Okay, so back up to character, and I just want to increase this font size until it looks how I like it. So there we go, that's a little, I'm going to click on the text and then the background box, and then I want to align it in the center. Okay, there we go. And now it's still a little bigger than I would like it to be, so I can shrink it down a little bit more. Get that centered in there. Okay, so now I just want to add the name down at the bottom, so I'm going to click on this text box. I'm going to click Alt. That makes it a duplicate. As you can see, my cursor changed when I press Alt. And I'm just going to drag straight down. There we go. So, and then we can type name, last name. Okay, so that looks a little weird, so we can kind of spread it out by making the font size a little bit bigger. Okay, so now what I would like to do is I would like to maybe add a couple lines for accents. So I'm going to click on the line tool right here. I want to line it up pretty well with my text box here. I'm going to hold shift. That makes me give a straight line no matter what direction I go in. Makes it a little easier to make straight lines. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to use my arrows and move it down below that text box. I'm going to click on my selection tool or hit V, and I want to hold down Alt, and I'm going to drag this line down. Here we go. Now if I want to get these aligned in the center, I can hold down shift. I've got that one selected already. I'm going to select this one up here, and I'm going to select this rectangle, and I can do the align horizontal. And then if I want to make these lines a little bit thicker, I'm going to select both of them by holding shift and clicking on both of them. I've got the stroke settings right here, so maybe I'll just bump it up to 2, make it a little interesting. And then they accent this middle color here. They also accent the lines on here, so they've got the graphic design, they've got that in the gold to match the gold here, and they've got black lines there, and then down here they have the text in black to match the black text, and then they have the gold lines. That's kind of a lot for me right now. It works wonderfully on what they're doing, but I don't want to copy it that much. So what I want to do is I do want to change these to an accent color. So I've got them selected, these 3 letters here. I know it looks like it's a lot more, but it's just these 3. And then I want to click on swatches, and I'm going to make it this this blue right here, and then click out right there. So now let's say we're pretty close to being done with this layout. So let's take a look at a better view. So right now we're in the normal view, but if you want to view a preview of it, you can click on this box here. So that's more what it's going to look like here. So you can get an idea of that. This is where you can make adjustments a little more easily. And you can just see how it's going to lay out a little bit better. Now another option you have is if you hold down this, you can click on presentation. So that's going to give you a much better view of what this looks like. So I'm going to Click Escape to get out of this, and then go back to good old normal view. So I think this box is a little too wide for this. I want it to fit a little more compactly in here. So I'm going to shrink that down a little bit, line it up so it's the same width as that. It looks more consistent. And then I also want to add a drop shadow to this rectangle here. So I can do that using effects here. So I'm going to open this up and then click on this little FX icon down here. And I want to add drop shadow. Boom, there we go. It's already in there. I like to use global light. Check on that. But you can move it. So if you kept it over here on this side, you can change how this works. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to redo that because I messed it up. Okay, drop shadow, use global light. You can change the opacity, you can change how far it is away. Just play with these a little bit if you're not super familiar, and just work on it until you get a look that you like. And you can change these line colors if you want to. If there's too much black on there, you can do that. One last thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this stroke color. So it's selected here. That's how you change that. You can swap, or you can click here. So if I wanted to change the fill color, I can do it right from there. But I want to change the stroke color, and I just want to get rid of it. So I'm just going to clear that out. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. Let's take one more look at it. So we can view in preview mode. What you can see here is I didn't quite get it far enough over, so I'm just going to select all these things. You can group them. It's probably a good idea to group your stuff that needs to be grouped. Typically that's Control G. And slide that over. There we go. I just grouped it. So yeah, depending on how much, what you want to show over there, you can move things around. So let's view this in presentation mode. So this was the inspiration, and this is what I came up with based off of this design here. So that's a great way that you can take a look at what's out there, see what you like, take the elements that you like, and put them into your own document the way that you want them. So there's lots of options that you can do with this. You can slide it in the center if you want to. Just whatever you're feeling that you want to do. So if we wanted to slide this in the center, we're going to need to resize this image here, or just scoot this over actually. We made it a little bit smaller than that box, and that's fine. So if we wanted to center it on the page, we can do that. There we go. So you could also have it in the center like this. You can move it up top if you want. Just make sure you're not covering something that is an important aspect of this design. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more helpful tutorials. Check out my website, simplesoftwaretutorials.com, and have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all.